Everyone, welcome back to the Cows channel on this September 20th of the year of our Lord 2023. Don't know why I did that, but this is a Cow's Opinion. We go over the latest and greatest news and give you a moot point about what is happening. And right now, the journey, the long, windy, it's like a trip to Mordor to drop off the One Ring or something. I don't know what's going on, guys, but it may finally almost be done. Because the UK regulator, the Consumer Merger and Competition and Markets Authority, the last major roadblock to Activision and Blizzard's merger is finally going to roar next week, and it is widely expected that it will finally pass. So the watchdog is going to be the last word on the $69 billion with a B dollar deal to merge one of the biggest console makers with one of the biggest software developers. And then they will have a final decision issued by October 18th, and hopefully this will be done. I'm tired of this. I'm done. I don't want to talk about this anymore, man. We're done. Stop dragging this out. Now, as you know, the FTC here in the United States had their trial with Microsoft, and, well, most commentators, industry executives, industry insiders, and legal experts admit that the FTC just completely took a dump in that courtroom. They looked unprepared, they had unsatisfactory answers, they had one of the most ridiculous things they tried to say in there, just to give you a taste. There's plenty of, I've done videos on it, there's plenty of other people who've done videos on it. But just a taste. They tried to argue with the judge that Nintendo is not in the business of making consoles. And when they was pointed out to him that the Switch is a console, he said, well, we don't count it that way. Well, you may not count it that way, but it doesn't mean that everybody else doesn't. So they won against the FTC. But before that happened, this past April, the CMA blocked the merger, but not for the reason anybody thought. Instead of being worried about Microsoft's hold on the software or Call of Duty or anything like that, the CMA was trying to argue that there was actually their cloud gaming that was giving them pause. And of course, cloud gaming is such a very difficult thing to do. I'm not saying that maybe the CMA isn't right to do it, but we've all seen cloud gaming is hard. You need a constant internet connection with no drops. It's not something that is affordable to build out. If you do build it out, it's not affordable for the consumer to have. Sure, that's the dream, that instead of a big, expensive PC, that there's a server somewhere in your area that is doing all the hardware stuff, and I just need a monitor and a computer maybe a fourth the size and a lot less of the price to be able to play all my games, because games are awesome and the cow likes that. That's the dream, but the dream is not obtainable. So the fact that the CMA blocked for this just shocked everybody, got them a little mockery too. It's like you didn't want to rule against them, but you did. You found some weird thing to rule against them for. And look, I don't want to sound like a Microsoft fanboy. There were some veiled threats. Some, not just the Xbox division, but the heads of Microsoft said they were very disappointed with the UK and may have to rethink spending and acquisitions there and building out structure there if the law was not going to be fair, is basically what they said. It's like, hey, we're not going to do business in there. Microsoft is a major international corporation. You don't want to do that. But now, finally, it may have advanced, because Microsoft was going to appeal this past July after winning with the FTC, but then Xbox and CMA paused that because they thought they would be able to reach an out-of-court agreement. And in fact, they did. The U.S. company has restructured Activision Blizzard to sell the cloud streaming rights to Ubisoft so that CMA can launch a new inquiry to address the concerns about the impact of the proposed acquisition on cloud gaming stream raised by the UK Competition and Markets Authority. We are restructuring the transaction to acquire a narrow set of rights. This includes executing an agreement effective at the closing of our merger that transfers the cloud streaming rights for all of our current and new Activision Blizzard PC and console games published over the next 15 years to Ubisoft, a leading global publisher. The rights will be in perpetuity, which means that they'll just, go on. Other comments? Because basically what they're saying is, we don't think cloud gaming is going to be super huge in the next 15 years. And again, I'm not, tech advances really fast, although lately there used to be a thought that every 7 years computer processing power would double or something like that. That's been called into question as just the size and what you can fit onto microchips and such is getting harder and harder. We have 14, just here to see the comments when it blows up. I just want to play Call of Duty. I can understand that. I have a very good feeling about this acquisition going through. Microsoft is corrupt. Why are your comments always blacked out like a CIA document? Hope it gets blocked. Maybe Microsoft actually will start trying to do things instead of buying them. Xbox fans are better. It's probably not going to get blocked. They should force Microsoft to make all games multi-platform possible, but Sony and Nintendo have to develop and finance support with a 60-40 revenue split instead of 70-30. Then that's kind of interesting, but it should be the case for all exclusivity going forward. How refreshing would it be if instead of complaining to the IP holder, the gamers could complain to the company when they actually gave their money, when the latter don't want to spend money to make a port for their customers or make a cheap buck. Look, it's not a terrible idea that this one has had, but I mean, you'd have to get an American company and two Japanese companies, and then you'd have to get it legally processed through America, Europe, and Japan, and China, because it's also a big game market. So that's not necessarily a terrible idea, but it's probably not going to happen. So what's the cow's opinion? Let this end. For the love of God, let it end. Look, Microsoft has been, kind of steamrolling and bullying through this, and I think that they're just going to get their way. The CMA does not want to be the only person that, with the FTC having lost their legal case and not have, I know they said that they really want to appeal, but the fact of the matter is the FTC is not going to have enough time to appeal, guys. The CMA needs to have this done by October for the new deadline for the acquisition. The CMA has also said, hey, we're going to give you the initial thing this week, and then we're going to, before the end of the month, and then we're going to do the final decision by October 18th, and then weekend's going to happen, and then Microsoft's going to acquire it over the weekend. Now, the FTC can still appeal, but here's the problem that I've had to learn and that a lot of people didn't know. In the United States of America, it is a lot harder to undo a merger than it is to block one, which kind of makes sense, because you don't want anybody able to go back a couple years later and nope, break everything up. We made an oopsie, whatever. So the FTC had said they really wanted to appeal. The problem is they did not do well in that court case, guys. It was kind of humiliating for them, which means that they lost a lot of money in making all that stuff happen. There were a lot of politicians who were not... First of all, a lot of politicians started pointing out that Sony was doing in Japan what they were saying Microsoft does trying to do in America. So Sony did not come out looking great either. Microsoft does not come out looking very squeaky clean in all this either. I just don't think Microsoft cares because they're getting the $70 billion company that they want, guys. I mean, none of those three entities look good, but Microsoft's the one that's winning at the end, and winning just makes you look good. It just does. I think that there's a very high chance that the CMA says, oh yeah, that thing they did totally solved our problems. We sign off on it, and then after that, it's just a couple more weeks for them they should issue a final decision. The 18th is a Wednesday, I believe, which means that Microsoft could close just 2 or 3 days later over a weekend. They like to do this stuff over a weekend because it doesn't affect as many people. And yeah, the Activision Blizzard will finally be sold off. If you've been holding Activision Blizzard stock, you're getting $95 a share. Congratulations. Which is about where it's sitting at, if I remember correctly. I haven't checked it in a while, but I don't think there's been any reason for it to leave. Everyone is pretty convinced that this is going to fly. Now, maybe I'll be surprised in by next week there may be another update video that Cal's like, hey, that didn't happen, but we will see. What is your opinion? Do you like the merger? Do you not like the merger? Are you just happy that this is done? Because I'm falling more and more into that third category. I'm pretty sure this is going to get bullied through. I just want it to be done. And hey, you know what else you can do? You can play more games, because games are awesome and you deserve that awesome. I'll see you next time.